Welcome to class 3 of my beginner series. Check out class 1 and 2 because this one builds on those. If you've practiced yoga before, you're probably fine to jump into this, but if you've never practiced yoga before, please do the 2 previous classes. All right, so we'll start in a seat. I'm going to have my hips up on a blanket so my pelvis can tip forward. If you notice that you cross one leg in front of the other every time, which is totally natural, switch the cross just to switch it up. Rest your hands on your lap. Palms face up or down. Lift your armpits up to your ears and then slide the head of the arm bones back. Scapula firmly on your back and close your eyes. Tune in to your breath. So most classes start with just a little centering time or meditation, and the only thing you need to do here is just bring your mind's eye to your inhales and exhales. So you're just noticing the quality of your breath, meaning does it feel really fast? Does your breath feel like it's up in your chest? And if that's the case, maybe think about pressing that down toward your belly so that when you inhale, your belly expands. And as you exhale, your belly draws in. Good. Inhale, belly expands. Exhale, belly draws toward your spine. Soften the space between your eyebrows. Soften your jaw. And then bring your hands together in front of your heart space. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Good. Rest your hands down. Open your eyes. Notice just now if you feel a little bit different than when you started in your seat. So you can move your blanket aside. Have a couple blocks handy if you can, or at least one, or a book, or even a water bottle can work. Set up in your tabletop, your hands and knees. Hips stack over knees, shoulders stack over wrists. Spread your fingers nice and wide and grip your mat with your finger pads. And then inhale, lift your tail, lift your chest to look forward, arch your spine, cow pose. And then exhale, press the earth away, round your spine like an angry cat. Really feel the muscles between each vertebra. Take in some more oxygen, stretch, cat pose, and then inhale, cow, chest forward. Exhale, cat. So this right here is Vinyasa Yoga. You're having the breath lead your movement. So Vinyasa just means moving or matching movement with breath. Good. Take one more round. Come back to your neutral spine, which means our starting point. Walk your hands forward just a touch. Tucking toes, lifting hips, downward facing dog. So typically we shorten our dog up a whole bunch so we can try to get that Instagram photo of the heels down, but the back is rounding, if you'll notice. So instead, we want to walk our feet back so that the heels are not touching down on our mat. So just try that. Bend your knees. Lift your tailbone up to bring your natural curve back to your lumbar spine. That's your low back. And now maybe straighten the legs, but it's totally okay to have the heels lifted from your mat. Keep clawing the mat with your finger pads.
You can take your gaze kind of down and even forward a little bit. You do not need to be looking at the belly button. Good. Take a break whenever you need to. Knees can come down. But like I said, just building on to the previous class, so trying to hold our down dog, which will one day be our resting pose. Good. Now take your knees down. Slide your hips back, child's pose. So knees can be nice and wide, big toes touch. Hips could be way up here, totally fine. Or maybe they touch down. Forehead could come down to your block or your mat. Couple rounds of breath here. Good. Come on back up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Lift your hips. Good. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees deeply and take your gaze forward. And then little steps up your mat. Forward fold. So the forward fold, we're looking for this nice juicy stretch in the backs of the legs. In order to get that, the legs do need to be straight. So perhaps your fingertips need to come forward to make that happen, or to a block. And then take your fold there. Totally fine. We've got tops of thighs pressing back, hinging at hips. Feet are hips width distance apart, and then just see if you can let your torso be like liquid. It's just like water, super fluid. You could even rock a little side to side. Grab onto opposite elbows. Good. And then release your hands down. Ground down into your feet and then take your hands to your shins. Lift your spine halfway and look forward. So this might be called a halfway lift in a yoga class, or lift halfway, or Ardha Uttanasana for the Sanskrit. And then walk your hands all the way up. Come to Tadasana, mountain pose. Lift armpits up to ears, head of arm bones back. Good, and then the palms face inward toward your body, gaze forward. So we haven't done this in the previous classes, but we'll move through 3 sun salutations, and that just means we're bowing to the sun, we're honoring the sun. These you will find often in a vinyasa class. So we'll just take somewhat of a modified version, and then we'll take the real deal sun salutations in the next couple classes. To begin, inhale, reach your arms up and look up. And then exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold. Take in your next inhale and walk your hands forward, coming to that lift halfway, look forward. And then exhale, if you need to, bend your knees and plant your hands down shoulder width apart. Press back or step back to plank pose, shoulders stacking over wrists. And then take your knees down for this round of plank. Belly button pulls up to spine, shift forward. Take your tailbone down toward your heels and slowly lower down. Good. For our Cobra, little back bend, you'll lift your armpits toward your ears and then draw the head of the arm bones up to the sky so that the scapula is firmly placed on the back. That's your shoulder blades. Legs are nice and wide. And then press your hips down into the mat and lift your chest. Inhale, breath. Exhale, come on down. Press down into your mat. And come on up, tabletop to downward facing dog. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Keep pressing down into your first finger and thumb. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees deeply and look forward. And then little steps to the top of your mat. Forward fold, feet hips width distance apart. Walk hands forward. Inhale, breath. Lengthen through your crown of your head. Exhale, fold. Root down into your feet and walk your hands all the way up the front of your legs. Tadasana. Good. That was one sun salutation. Let's do two more. Inhale, reach arms up, look up, try to touch the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips, fold. Walk your hands forward, extend through your spine, extend through your crown. And then exhale, root your hands down, step back to your plank. Knees can come down. Tailbone toward your heels. And then bend your elbows all the way down to your belly. Untuck your toes, legs nice and wide. Lift your armpits up toward your ears. Draw head of arm bones back. And then Cobra. Maybe come up a little bit higher if you can bend your elbows out to the sides. Head of the arm bones back. Chest forward, gaze forward. And then come on down. Press down into your hands. Straighten the arms, come up tabletop or hands and knees. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Remember, we do not need to touch our heels to the mat, so you might walk your feet back a little bit. Bend your knees deeply, take your gaze forward to the front of your mat, and then little steps all the way up. Forward fold. Root down into your feet, walk your hands up your legs, come to standing. Tadasana. Good, that's two. We'll do one more. Inhale, reach arms up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, fold. Good, walk your hands forward, extend through your crown. And then root your hands down, bend your knees, step back to your plank, knees come down. Shift forward with your chest so that your shoulders come past your wrists a little bit, lower to your belly. Untuck your toes, lift your armpits toward your ears, head of arm bones lift away from your mat, and come on up, Cobra. Good. Down to your belly. Straighten your arms. Tabletop. Tuck toes, down dog. Lift hips. Couple rounds of breath here. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees deeply, look forward, and then little steps all the way to the top of your mat, forward fold. Walk your hands up your legs, come to standing. Good, lift armpits to ears and head of arm bones roll back. Beautiful. So 3 sun salutations right there. Now let's work on some lunges. So hugging in the legs to the midline. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, fold. Good, walk your hands forward, straighten your beautiful legs, look ahead. Plant the hands, step your right foot back. This is where blocks come in handy. Maybe you want to grab them and place them underneath your hands. 90-degree bend in your front knee, back thigh is lifted. If you don't want to come into this high lunge or crescent lunge, you can always have your back knee come down and reach your arms up from here. Otherwise, think about your legs squeezing to the midline, or some people say scissor your legs. So you think of a pair of scissors when they're open, and then you want to act as if you're closing the scissors or the legs toward each other. Lift your belly up to your spine, and then come on up. Crescent lunge. Bend your front knee deeply. Arms reach up. Fingertips. Have some energy to them. So sometimes we'll see
new yogis with just your hands kind of hanging out here, not doing anything, but we want the fingers to spread wide and active. Reach your arms up, inhale, and then exhale, bring your hands down to your blocks or your mat and step forward, forward fold. And then let that side go. Good, hands down on your mat or to your blocks. Left foot steps way back for your lunge. So you're lifting your back heel, bending your front knee deeply. Notice if your foot is back here and your knee's going way past. We don't want that. Knee lines right up over your ankle. Squeeze your legs to the midline. Bring your arms up. Fingers wide. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Good. Hands come back down to your blocks or your mat. Lift up through your back thigh and step to the top of your mat. Fold. Good. All right, we're going to do another lunge and add a little twist. So right foot steps back. Squeeze legs to the midline and reach your arms up. Now take your left hand to your left hip and take your right hand, right forearm outside your left thigh. Good. Bend deeply into your front knee. And then inhale, lift up through your crown. Exhale, take your gaze back. That is a twist. Let your right hip maybe come forward a little bit. And then if you want to add more on the arms, you can open them up. Hug your left outer hip back and breathe. Good. And then look forward, reach arms up. Hands come down to blocks. Step forward, forward fold. Let that side go. Good. Hands to blocks or your mat. Left foot steps back. Your feet here are on railroad tracks. So think of them as wide as your hips, not like they're on a tightrope. One in front of the other. That's going to make balance real tricky. Okay. Reach your arms up. Beautiful. Right hand, right hip, and then left arm outside right thigh. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, start to look back. Remember, you can always take your back knee down. Take your gaze back. Maybe the left hip comes forward. And then maybe add on, open up your arms, take your gaze back and breathe. Good. Reach your arms up. And then hands come down. Step your foot forward. Forward fold. Awesome. Walk your hands up the front of your legs. Come up. Tadasana. Okay, I'm going to grab a drink of water, so feel free to do the same. And now we'll work on a little standing balance. So you can keep a block on your highest setting. And we'll just start with that. So left leg, super strong. Right foot can come up to a block. And maybe this is where you stay. Squeeze your left buttocks and try to lift your foot off the block and keep it flexed. Good. So we're going to work on our twist again, but this time on one leg. So left hand will come and wrap around the front of the shin or knee. Right hand can stay at your low back or on your right hip. And then just slowly take your gaze back. Good. Take your gaze forward. Take your right foot down to your block and release. And then we'll switch sides. Firming your right leg, hug muscle to bone. So squeeze muscles. Left foot on the top of the block, hands to hips. Gaze forward. So this is called your drishti, is where you're looking. So you want to pick something and focus on something that's not moving. Okay, left leg lifts, left knee bent, toes flex up toward your knee. Right hand wraps around the front shin or knee. Good, and then your left hand can come to your low back or stay on your left hip. And then if you're ready, start to take the gaze back. Challenge your balance more. And breathe. Use all four corners of your right foot. You could either like grip your mat with your toes. And then bring your gaze forward. And release. Awesome. Okay, so now we'll try a little bit more standing balance. Left leg is strong. Right foot steps back so you're on the ball of your right foot. And then hands to hips, square them, and look forward. Good. Now from here, just hinge at your hips so your chest draws forward. Maybe bend your left knee. Keep looking forward, and then play with lifting your right leg up. So this could be where you start to practice here. Just play with that. Or you might try to lift the right leg higher and straighten your left leg. Now keep the kneecap, the lifted kneecap facing down. Maybe hands to your heart. Or take the gaze down and forward so you're not cranking on your neck. And then maybe extend your arms back. Palms face down, airplane pose. Breathe. Scoop your heart forward. Lift your belly to your spine. And then come to Tadasana. Whew. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Okay, right leg firm. Step your left foot back so you're on the ball of your back foot. Hands to hips, square them forward. And then bend your right knee a little bit. Scoop your heart forward. Lift your belly. And then just play here. Lifting your left leg up. Set your gaze in front of you and down. And then when you're ready, maybe try to lift the leg a little bit higher. Each time you fall out, you come right back in. That's why yoga is called a practice. Once you get there, maybe you play with straightening your right leg. Taking your hands off your hips. Or lengthening the arms back, palms face down. Scoop heart forward, lift belly, gaze down a little bit. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Good. All right, inhale, reach arms up, touch the sky, look up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold. Good. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Root your hands down and step to your downward facing dog. Heels are lifted off your mat, feet are hips width distance apart. And then you're gripping your mat with your finger pads. So your palm right here is actually lifted up from your mat because you've got these like, what are those little kid toys with the plastic and you, like, they're like stringy, gummy, I don't know, I have kids, I don't even know what they're called, but they're really gross and they stick to the wall and get dirt everywhere. But just think of that with your hands. Good. And then shift forward to your plank. Remember, your knees can come down. Your tailbone carves down toward your heels, so your core, your abdominal muscles turn on, and then you come all the way down to your belly. Okay, legs are nice and wide as your mat. Arms are going to be long by your sides, palms face down to start. Forehead down. Lift your armpits toward your ears and head to arm bones peel away from your mat.
Press your hips down, lift your chest. Good, and then option here to lift your legs and lift your arms, shoot back energy through your fingertips. Take your gaze down toward your mat so you're not cranking on your neck, trying to look forward. And think of this more as a spinal extension from toes all the way through the crown of your head. Inhale, lift everything up. One more breath. And then exhale, come on down. Good. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Press on up. Tabletop. Okay. So now we're going to do a side plank. I'll teach you the modified version this class, and then we'll move on and take it further on the next class. So keep your left hand rooted down, and then you'll spin your shin on the left side out so it's outside of your mat, and you're pressing down into the ball of your left foot. And then your right leg is going to extend long, and your sole of your right foot is all the way down on your mat. And then think about swinging your left hip toward your right foot a little bit. Now, press your hips forward to engage your glutes, and then reach your right arm up. Good, fingertips wide. Gaze can be down or up. Good, right hand down. Come back to your tabletop. And then take your right foot out, left foot down, and then left arm reaches up. Fingers spread wide. Press your hips forward a little bit. Good. Take your gaze down, left hand down, and then downward facing dog. Lift hips. And then you'll shift forward again, shoulders over wrist to your plank, and you'll just take your right knee behind your right wrist. This is called pigeon. Your left leg can slide back, and then keep your toes tucked on your back foot. You'll see that this shin is at a diagonal. That's what I want for you. So right knee opens up. You've got the foot pointed, so you're on the top of the foot, and your ankle is extended. And then you've got your left side of your butt up off of your mat. Maybe open your right knee to the right just a little bit. And then if you like, hands can be on blocks here. So this will feel like a little back bend. Think about the front of the left hip reaching forward while your right hip hugs back. So you're still trying to square your hips to the front of your mat. Spine is tall, shoulders relax down. You're breathing. Your hands can totally be here. So we do this. You might feel a nice stretch in the front of your left hip. You might feel a stretch on the side of your right hip and your right glutes. Good. And then bring your hands down. Lift your back knee up and find your downward facing dog. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Left knee, left wrist, shin at a diagonal. Right leg scooches back, and you keep your back toes tucked. Hip is up. Good. Hands by your sides. You can walk them back, or you might take hands to blocks. And soften your jaw. And breathe. You can add movement here, kind of swivel hips side to side. Good, and then
Scooch the blocks off. Lift your back knee. Come to your downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees deeply. And take your steps up to the top of your mat and come to a seat. Grab a block and come down to your back. So knees stack up right above ankles. And then notice if your low back is all the way pressed down into your mat, I want you to think about your sits bones right underneath your booty to roll forward, and then my arm can come underneath my low back and kind of soften down a little bit. Good. All right, gaze is straight up. Feet hips width distance apart. Root down into your feet. Claw your mat with your toes so your arches lift. And then lift your hips. And to add a heart opener here, you can interlace your fingers underneath your low back and walk your shoulder blades toward each other. Puff up your chest. Take your gaze to the sky. And then act as if, without moving your feet, you're dragging your heels toward your shoulders. Think about softening your glutes. We're not doing glute work here. We're just opening up the chest, expansion over the front of the thighs and the belly. Relax your jaw. Good. Walk your shoulders away from each other, undo the clasp of your hands, and bring your hips down. Good. We're going to do one more of those, this time with the block. So you'll root down into your feet, lift your hips, slide your block underneath your low back. So it's not here in this arch in your low back, and it's not at the top of your bum even. It's kind of in the middle of your bum where your sacrum is, which is lower than your tailbone. Or sorry, right above your tailbone. So just hang out here for a minute. Get used to balancing on the block. You may be on a lower setting or the mid setting. That's where I would start. Now from here, keep your left foot rooted down and bring your right knee toward your chest, and then bring your right leg up to the sky. Maybe a big bend in your knee, that's fine. And then even switch legs, or try both knees coming in toward your chest, and then your legs up for an inversion. So this is an inversion. So people say, oh, I go into headstands, I go into handstands. You see all these nutty people on Instagram. Sometimes I'm one of them. Most of the time I'm not. But this is also an inversion. Your hips are getting higher than your heart. If you have like blood pressure issues, basically anytime you're going to start a new form of exercise, check with your doctor so they can tell you if you should not be doing a certain pose. Maybe close your eyes, let your arms be wide, and then just let yourself balance here. Notice if you feel your body calming down as you come into this inversion. Good. Open up your eyes if they're closed. Bend your knees. And then bring your feet down to your mat. Root down into your feet to lift your hips and remove your block. Good. Draw your knees into your chest and then take your knees as wide as your armpits. So you may have heard of this pose called Happy Baby. That's where we're heading. So you could come into a half Happy Baby. That's right here. So just hands are on shins, rock a little side to side. Or soles of the feet face up to the sky, grab the backs of the thighs, and then rock side to side. If you want even more, you're going to take peace fingers around the big toe. You can grab the outside of the feet or the inside of the feet, and then draw the knees down outside the torso. Roll your tailbone forward a little bit. If you feel a real big pull on your neck, perhaps you want to take a block underneath the back of your head. Bring the floor to you, and then enjoy the stretch, the hips. Nice massage for the low back. Good. And then if you have a block underneath your head, go ahead and remove it. Draw your knees into your chest. And then take them over to your left. Peel your shoulder blades down. And then take the gaze to your right for a twist. You do have your block. You can always bring a block underneath your knees, or you can bring a block between your thighs. And it's okay too if your upper back is not all the way down on your mat. You could even take this pose on your left side. Good, and then bring your knees back through center to your chest, and then over to your right. Use whatever prop you want. Shoulder blades rest down. Take your gaze to your left. Maybe close your eyes. Good, and then bring your knees back through center. Wrap your arms around your shins and just take this moment of gratitude for showing up today on your mat, for just giving this a shot, focusing on your breath and your body, just doing something for you. Take a big inhale. And then exhale, lengthen everything out for your Shavasana. Give yourself to the gift of Shavasana in every class of yoga. Do not leave the Shavasana. It's the best part. So take your legs wide, take your arms wide, and then you get to make any little micro movements you need so that you can relax here and feel good. And if this doesn't feel good on your back, bend your knees, feet hips width distance apart, and then just take your knees in toward each other. So we never want anyone to be practicing yoga with pain. You should never move through pain. It's just more like you're feeling sensation, you're feeling muscles burning, and now you're feeling complete relaxation. Just surrender to gravity and know that you're being held here by the earth. Stay here for about 15 to 20 rounds of breath. I'll count. You just relax and find stillness as quickly as possible. As your mind wanders, bring your focus back to your belly rising and falling. And then come back to the present moment. No rush here. Just start to deepen your breath. And take your head side to side. Find a little movement in your fingers and toes. Roll off to the side that's calling you. Keep your eyes closed. And then use your top hand to press yourself up. Try to maintain the soft energy of your Shavasana. And come to a cross-legged seat. Eyes remain closed. Spine is tall but not rigid. Notice if you're breathing. Take your hands together in front of your heart. And then just take a moment. Notice, how do you feel now compared to when you started your practice? And no answer is wrong. We're just going to notice it and not have judgment about it. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Namaste. Thank you, yogis, and I will see you next time for practice 4.